to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go.
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition. Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and another after show for Ahsoka Part 5. And we have a number of guests in the Escape Pod today. Among your co-host Blake, we've got our friends Nick, Dan, and AJ all joining us for a good Star Wars chat on this latest episode called, actually that's not called Fallen Jedi. This was a very unique episode because this screened in theaters across the United States of America in many big top chain theaters. So, this is a big one. And we're going to dive right in, make connections and more. Let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
All right, welcome back, Blake.
Chut, Josh. Chut.
Chut. This is a really special week because, we've got a number of our friends joining us, and but also this is like kind of the episode of the season. You know what I mean? Like this was really
Holy
hyped
smokes.
up. Yeah.
All I could think about while watching is like Josh must be losing his mind right now, seeing all this prequel stuff. All straight out of Clone Wars.
Straight out of Clone
man.
Wars. Oh, jeez, yeah. Like
Same thought.
And welcome back, Dan. That's the voice of Danny here. Yeah, it's been. You were on last week, weren't you? You're on. So far, you haven't missed a single one.
Yep, been here for them all.
Nice, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on again. And we got special guest AJ joining me locally in the Escape Pod.
Welcome.
Hello. And when was the last time you were on? Just so people remember, was it one of the book reviews?
Yeah.
or-
It was the last book review that you've done.
Okay.
We did.
Which one was that?
Can't remember.
Oh, Battle Scars.
Yes,
Battle Scars. That's the one.
it.
That's the
Yeah.
one. All right. Yeah. Don't read it.
It was
all right.
fine.
I'll save you the the point of listening to that entire. Just kidding. Listen to the review.
Exactly.
And Nick, welcome back, man. Welcome back.
Hey,
Welcome back. And when was the last time you were on again? Was it last week?
I think it might have been 2 weeks
2
ago.
weeks ago. Awesome. Okay. Sweet. And that is everybody. So without further ado, let's dive into part 5, Shadow Warrior. That's what it's called. Written by Dave Filoni, directed by Dave Filoni. And this episode came out September 12th, 2023. I'll just read the summary and then we can just dive right in. Hera Syndulla arrives on Cetos where she finds Hu Yang with Sabine's helmet. Saddened to see the two of them have disappeared, Jason Syndulla then senses Ahsoka's presence and hears her thoughts in the world between worlds, revealing his own connection with the Force, something we all knew was there. Anakin Skywalker explains to Ahsoka that he had been watching her through the Force and reasons that her loss with Baylan Skoll's partially due to her unresolved guilt over the events that drove them apart. Ahsoka loses a duel with Anakin, who sends her tumbling down into reliving fragments of her past during the Clone Wars. Ahsoka refuses Anakin's teachings, determined not to be held back by the past, leading to another duel between them. This time, Ahsoka wins, accepting that she wasn't part of the reason for Anakin's downfall and chooses to live. Ahsoka is recovered by Hera Syndulla's crew just as she regains consciousness and uses psychometry to learn that Sabine is in fact with Baylan Skoll. Hera is contacted by Mon Mothma, who informs her that the New Republic forces are en route to take her and Ahsoka into custody. As a New Republic defense fleet led by Captain Gerard arrives, Carson Teva explains Hera's actions to them in an effort to stall time. Ahsoka recruits a pod of Purgle with the Force to take her and Huyang where Ezra went. Jason Syndulla, Hera, Chopper all stay behind as the New Republic defense fleet see her depart in the large Purgle. Jonah style. So that is episode 5. Geez, what would we all think of this? Just off the top of our head. I mean, Blake, maybe you can start.
I think this is probably as big as it gets for shows like this. I mean, just seeing just the storylines across all these different media over the last, what is it, like 45, 50 years, starting to see everything start to converge together. This is the stuff I think that, at least for me, always gets me really excited.
Yeah, I would agree. There was a lot that I was excited by, and there was a few things that I feel like I could nitpick apart, but for the most part, I enjoyed
we can
it.
get into that too.
Yeah. AJ, what did you think of this one?
It was fun seeing the similarities between Lord of the Rings and Ahsoka, with Gandalf and Ahsoka. Yeah, Ahsoka the Grey becomes Ahsoka the White. Right. Let's see where they can go.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna write a note down because I'm gonna bring that up with you. I think yeah. Nick, what do you think of this one?
I really liked it. I maybe didn't appreciate it as much as like a very hardcore Star Wars fan, because I didn't get, I might not have got like all the references and all that with the individual details, but I thought it was very cool how they brought the World Between Worlds in there, and you're kind of like, okay, where is she really there? Is it a dream kind of thing, and all that. So, and the thing with Anakin and Darth Vader, and kind of she's kind of almost finishing her battle that she had with him at that Sith temple in Rebels, because she was pulled out of it by Ezra, right? So this is kind of she's able to finally get some closure for that.
Yeah, that's well put. Dan, what'd you think?
I hated this episode. No, I loved it. I thought it was great. It checked off all the boxes I wanted. Like what was said, it was a good bringing the Rebels, Clone Wars, like everything together. Can't wait to see the next week's episode. Yeah,
awesome. All right, so I got a few things I noted down here that maybe we can just kind of use as some conversation starters, but the big thing obviously that kicks us off is this moment where we left episode 4 behind. Anakin shows up in the World Between Worlds, and sort of the big question at heart here is really, is this happening in her head, or is this physically she's kind of dropped through a portal into this place? And maybe we can just go around the circle and just all kind of share what we think is going on here, because this is sort of essential to kind of everything that happens inside of this place as well. So, Blake, why don't you kick things off here?
Sure. So I know we were speculating a little bit about this last week, and we were wondering if there's maybe echoes left over because she's been there before. But what I got from this, maybe you guys have different opinions, but to me, I think this was supposed to be more like a near-death experience for her. And so I think this might be what Jedi actually see when they die. It's just in this case, she was sent back.
Yeah. Nice. It's funny.
So, which is kind of neat though, because that means tied to Mortis, they made a doorway into the afterlife world.
I have very similar opinions to you, I would say, because I just feel like the way that they approached the entire sequence of events that sort of transpires there, to me, it also felt very almost Alice in Wonderland, Christmas Carol kind of situation. It almost felt like it could just be this entire thing is happening inside her head. And all I could think about was that last scene in the Deathly Hallows, when Harry's chatting with Dumbledore, and he says to Dumbledore, like, Professor, is this real? And then he's like, well, of course it's real, Harry, but of course it's happening inside your head, Harry, but why does that mean it shouldn't be real, right? So I thought it was kind of like that. And I felt like the way that she wakes up and everything was very kind of near-death experience, very like unconscious for that entire thing. But that's an interesting way to put it. That's an interesting way to put it, that maybe that place is kind of this cosmic sort of area in the Force where her life force kind of goes, as it's sort of floating between life and death, and she's sort of metaphorically fighting to stay alive by fighting Anakin in this dream, right? Dan, what did you think about this?
I agree. I mean, the fact that we didn't see him being transparent, like he didn't come off as a Force ghost, like it felt like kind of like it was a world between the afterlife and the real world,
like a purgatory sort of thing,
like limbo. Like I definitely don't think it was just made up in her head, but like it's like maybe it's the place that Jedi go before they move on, or it would be interesting to see. Or, maybe it's just one of those things they don't need to explain. Just leave it mysterious.
Yeah. Yeah. AJ, what'd you think?
Yeah, I definitely don't think they're going to explain what actually happened there. I definitely don't think that it happened in real life. I feel like Jason is good enough with the Force that he was kind of hearing bits of it as they were going on, but yeah, I think that was kind of like not in. I'm splitting hairs. It didn't happen in real life, but it wasn't all just in her head. I think that she somehow went like to the world between worlds, like she was there,
like her life force kind of.
Yeah. She was like there, but not fully there,
right.
Like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and could have gone either way.
Yeah. Nick.
So that if she died, would she stay in the world between worlds? In that case.
So what you're saying is if she were to die and she stays there or kind of goes elsewhere, you're saying that her body, which is still in the ocean this entire time, would then disappear. Disappear entirely, kind of like what we've seen Jedi do before. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Nick, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. I think they maybe intentionally left it up to like the viewer's interpretation, and then it's like, oh, whatever you think happened, that's kind of how it could be. Cool. The thing with Jason kind of threw me off because like, oh, I hear the lightsabers, and it's like, oh, that must be, she must have like gone through the portal, and he can literally hear her like underwater kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's a big point. I think why it would be in her head, because why would she be hearing that?
Yeah, unless he's like so good with the Force that he can hear her thoughts. Yeah. But I think that might be a bit too much.
Here's the real like parallel with that moment when he picks that up, right? When he can hear the lightsabers clash over the sound of the waves. It reminded me of this scene in The Last Jedi when Luke goes into Ben's hut and he hovers his hand over his head and he just feels all of these things, right? And he can see almost like what's happening in his dreams. And you hear all these people screaming and in agony, and clearly he's already under the influence of Snoke at this point. And it hasn't necessarily affected his decisions, but it's kind of gotten to him in a way that Luke can now pick up on, right? Because it's amplified. And I just thought, like, maybe if she is mentally kind of in this state of mind, perhaps even the most amateur hour Force users would be able to tell, unlike, even Hera was able to tell, right? Like, she was able to kind of sort of tap into that Force potential, because everyone's kind of got that sheer in-way in them, one way or another. And I like how she was able to pick up on it as well, that whole situation. So that was very cool. But yeah, sorry, carry on. I think you were just saying something.
Wait, sorry, me or who?
Yeah. Sorry, I got carried away there. Yeah, were you?
I think I kind of lost track, but I think, well, also one thing that was a little bit odd was that I think, was it later I forget what out of the first fight. I think it was the second fight. Like when she gets like kicked back onto the bridge, like after she goes back through her Clone Wars days, they like prepare to fight, and then she says like, "I won't fight you," and then Anakin's like, "Oh, I've heard that before," or something. But I think that's that's probably in reference to him as Vader when Luke tells him that. But that's sort of like a bending time situation because like he is Anakin like in the Clone Wars time, but that moment was from when after he become Vader, so the time is a bit kind of all over the place. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
it's a bit mysterious.
I think it was based around the training for Ahsoka specifically, so it's supposed to be things relatable to her.
Yeah. Would you all think that maybe because when Anakin comes back to the Force, right, like when he dies and gets reborn essentially as a Force ghost, like we see him in his younger body. So is there a chance that maybe this is the all-knowing Anakin Skywalker of post-death sort of situation when he says like, I've heard that before, you know, he is actually referencing that fight with Luke, you know, he's actually kind of been there, done that.
Yeah, I definitely think that because of where it takes place, that could be the all-knowing Anakin, as we have seen his first ghost before.
Yeah.
And it was his younger self, so I do believe that would have been him.
You know, I'm gonna pipe in here too. I agree with that also, and that's because like when you can see his eyes change too, from when he's being the Vader as he's talking to her, and then going back to being Anakin, and he's on the astral plane at this point, right? So he knows everything from his life. Everything is going to accumulate down to what he's talking about, or what he's trying to convey to her. But now he's able to teach her not only from the light side, he's able to teach her little quips from the dark side to make her own Jedi, you know, or her own Force user.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's well put. And to our audience, who that is Kyle, who just jumped in. So welcome, Kyle.
Hello.
Welcome back, I should say.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just on the road right now. We've stopped at a little diner in I forget where we're at. Little Fort. We're in a place called Little Fort right now, and we're on our way to Edmonton for the Fan Expo. And
nice.
Yeah. Decided to stop in and grab a bite to eat, and I was like, look what time it is.
Oh,
let's
thanks,
do some talking.
Thanks for popping on for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Oh, that's great.
I'm literally sitting here eating a shepherd's pie.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, anyone who's up at the which convention is this?
The first one this weekend is for Edmonton, and it's the Edmonton Fan Expo, and we're going to be there for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then we're driving over to Regina. And we're doing the Regina Expo there the weekend after, and that's 2 days, Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Prairie road trip.
Well, that is perfect for anyone listening who's living in the prairies. There you go.
Yeah, come check us out.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
What we were saying there, it is interesting though. What he's teaching, he's seeing Anakin teaching Ahsoka for both dark side and the light side.
Yeah.
It's playing a little bit into kind of where Ahsoka's at too, because as she said on multiple occasions, she is no Jedi, so she's become really more of a gray Jedi than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when she was talking to I forget the robot's name now, but when she's talking to the droid, and he's like, "Oh, you should use. Did you do this the Jedi?" And she's like, "I did this by not using Jedi ways."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like she was able to extract information, and she didn't do it the Jedi way. So yeah, she's definitely on the path for that, and I can see Anakin seeing that within her too.
Yeah,
I mean, Anakin was always like that, so it even makes sense that she would have picked up on that in her young training.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did so who was it? Was it you? Was it AJ? You brought up the Gandalf white cloak thing. Was the film depiction of maybe anyone else who's read Lord of the Rings can also answer this question, but was the film depiction of that moment the same as the one in the book?
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't read the books yet.
Okay.
So, but yeah, definitely like through what they depicted, at least in the movies, like he had died, and then they're like, "Nope, you're not done." It was after a long fall, fighting for someone else's life. Ahsoka, long fall, fighting for someone else.
So you just kind of Gandalf explains it when you first meet Gandalf the White, and he explains it as falling to Middle Earth and land on top of the mountain whenever he beats the Balrog, and then he dies, and then he just wakes up as Gandalf the White. So I think again here we see Ahsoka falling, she hits the water. It's kind of the same parallel. Only difference is we see what's going on in her head, where you don't see that with Gandalf.
Yeah.
Well, here's something cool that I'd like to chip in on that. So when Gandalf died, because he actually died, and he went to the god that rules over Middle Earth, and he was actually allowed to go back and be the white wizard, because he was the only one actually fulfilling his role as one of the 5 wizards or something.
Yeah.
And that to me is kind of like what she did, except for she didn't go see the god. She went and had her master visit her. Right?
chosen
And it's
one.
like, look,
The
there's
chosen,
other ways of
yeah.
doing things. Yeah.
She also, though, had the daughter through the 3 first ghosts. If you remember back, the son, the daughter, and then the father. The daughter actually gave her life to bring Ahsoka back. So that's also kind of leaning into the white, because the daughter was like the light side.
Yeah.
So Ahsoka just keeps coming back over and over again. Is kind of what we're learning here.
Probably the 3rd time.
Did you notice that the white that she's wearing is the same white that she wears at the end of Rebels?
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, in the flash forward.
Yeah.
See, this is
When
why
I saw
I'm
that,
like,
I was trying to. Sorry, I was trying to remember if she's wearing gray before that or not, but when she's maybe fighting Balin. Need to double check.
Yeah, she was definitely wearing gray.
This is what's confusing to me, because I keep mentally going back to that scene where, you know, she shows up with the staff, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, was this what in the Ahsoka show? Like, is it a repeat scene that they filmed, or is it intentionally supposed to be different? Right? Like, I don't. I
think they retconned the end of Rebels.
It's starting to seem that
seeming
way
like
more
that,
and
yeah.
more. Yeah.
That, oh no, let's actually just push off her becoming the white farther down.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, right before she goes to a new galaxy that we've never seen before, let's just do the transition now, as opposed to later or earlier.
Yeah, that to me is exactly how it plays off, because Dave said at one point that whole white cloak thing is post some sort of spiritual journey that she goes on.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe this is that spiritual
could be
journey,
it, yeah.
right? Like maybe this is that
that's
moment.
likely.
Yeah, because he's talked about that for years, right? Like we were talking about that in the last episode, where there was some sort of trading cards, or the doodles in his notebook that he put out on Topps trading cards, and there was like 4 of them with like red, black, and white color scheme, and it was her after she goes back into that triangular cave entrance, you know, when she pops out of the world between worlds after Ezra saves her, and there was like these kind of things that she kind of goes through with Morai the bird. And maybe this was supposed to be sort of, you know, the revisitation of that moment, just redepicted differently, right? Could have been. You know, Dave's not a, you know, he constantly kind of goes back and rewrites history a little bit, I find.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Small degrees.
Not unlike George Lucas.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like father, like son.
Like master, like apprentice.
Can we talk about how great of a parent Hera is?
Oh yeah. She's
Not only bringing her son into battle, but leaving him alone on an alien planet, on a side of a cliff.
With only a droid to keep him company and safe.
So
well, if anything, Chopper's gonna get him into more trouble.
Yep.
It's Chopper.
Yeah, we haven't seen enough of Chopper's grumpy side yet in the show, but you know, it's like, yeah, you're right. It is Chopper. That was a good call, Dan. Some bad parenting there. What do we think of this dual choreography with Anakin and Ahsoka? I mean, you know, who's got some words to say about that?
Maybe the lightsaber guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just typing in. I think it was absolutely epic. They've done a great job on all the fighting scenes that I've seen in Ahsoka so far, and her fighting her old master, or like when he's like, "Oh, I still have a couple things to teach you," and all of a sudden he cuts the bridge out. It's like you'll always be learning, is what I got from that. That he's teaching her that, but the battle itself, come on, man, that was epic. A lot of close-up fight scenes. Blades touching, faces together. That's the stuff that I love.
Yeah, it was really well done. Really well done. I like this duel more than like almost all the other ones in the show so far. So like this was a good one.
It definitely was a good one, man. But her and Balin, when they did that one, and he fights like a knight and she fights like a samurai.
Yeah,
like that was epic to see too. You know, like that. I wish he was still around. I'm absolutely saddened by the fact that he's not with us anymore. And he is one of the best actors that I've seen in Star Wars out there.
Oh man, yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Such a shame that he's not going to be, around for another appearance, I guess, in the future.
Yeah. He freaking crushed it.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably up there with Christopher Lee. Too bad we're not going to get more of him.
Yeah.
I got to bring up these two Clone Wars flashbacks, which happen naturally because during the duel, of course, Ahsoka starts to fall through these moments in her past, and I gotta ask, what did you all think about these? I mean, this was the first time we saw a young live action Ahsoka, which was cool. And
she looked right to you, Josh. You're a huge fan. You got a keen eye. What do you think?
I didn't mind it. The only complaint I could have had is she didn't do enough backhanded lightsaber stuff. But
right.
Yeah.
That was pretty much my own complaint about her. They may have been able to find someone slightly older looking for the Siege of Mandalore version of her, because I felt like she looked still a little too young in that version. But the younger Padawan green lightsaber version looked perfect to me. I thought that was great.
I thought you were going to mention that they didn't voice her over with Ashley.
I mean, they could have done that. It was an opportunity that they kind of missed, I think.
I think my favorite part about the flashback scene is when I'm watching it, and then all of a sudden you see the first clone trooper come running out, and I was like, "Holy crap! This is from the cartoon." And then I was like, "This is because those are some of the best battle scenes I've ever seen in Star Wars." And now you're getting to see a battle in live action with Anakin and a young Ahsoka. They blew it out. They blew me out of the water. I loved it, the whole thing.
Crazy. It was so cool. Yeah, well, I wanted a lot more of it.
So did I.
What did you guys think of the clone troopers?
I thought they looked great. I thought they looked good. Their fighting was pretty bang on. It was comparable to, the first season of Ahsoka, or of the Clone Wars, when they didn't have the guys wearing the suits and doing the actions for the clone troopers. You can actually see it's really clumsily done. But then you can see in season 2, 3, 4, and up that they had actual soldiers put into those suits. They capture their movements, and you can see that the soldiers were now, they looked better. They looked like what they were doing was real. When they were doing the scene live action, they did great. They had the soldiers were actually doing stuff. Like, I'm former military. They were doing stuff that I've seen in the military, and I'm like, they did a good job on that.
That's cool. I had no idea that was the case.
Oh yeah, if you go back and you actually look at season 1 of the Clone Wars, watch how clunky the fight scenes are with the clone troopers, and then look at season 2, and it's a complete difference.
Yeah, the animation got a lot better as the show went on. It was big stark difference, I think, between season 1 and 7.
Season 1 is always hard to watch. Usually skip it.
Yeah,
dude, I'll watch every 5th episode.
Yeah, just hit the big ones.
Just for everyone's kind of like knowledge, I guess, of how these were pulled off. This was like physically people in costumes for not the first time. We've seen this before. We've seen this in Book of Boba. We've seen it in Andor. And we've seen it in Obi-Wan Kenobi. Book of Boba was actually a CG scene, but the other shows, Mandalorian, Kenobi, and Andor, were all practical. So in general, I just prefer the way that the CG clones look. I think like the way that the armor flaps around on the clones, practically the way that the helmets sit on their head, they're not as mobile. I just didn't feel like the costumes fit as nicely. But I'm just kind of curious what everyone else thought. Maybe we can start with you, Blake.
You're saying that these clones are live action?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even notice. I just assumed they were CG.
Oh man, it stuck out to me like a sore thumb.
Okay, well, I didn't have any issues with them. I was mostly just enamored to be back in Clone Wars. I was trying to think if it's from a specific episode, and I kind of came to the conclusion that we're on Ryloth because of all the Twi'leks we see later on. Maybe you can speak to a specific episode, Josh. You're better at me than that. But as far as the clones themselves, I personally didn't have any issues with it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I had to agree with you, Josh. As cool as it was, and I had goosebumps throughout that whole sequence. They did look a little like clunky, like the little spiky thing on top of their helmet seemed really big. The armor didn't seem to not fit quite right. Like I need to rewatch the scenes, but it did catch my eye to where I noticed it. I'm like, oh, these look kind of not as high quality as what we're expecting from like maybe the movie versions of suits. Like maybe they were rushed or something. I don't know. Well, it wasn't horrible. I still really enjoyed the scene. I loved it. Right. But I did notice it.
If it is live action, then chances are taking the original CG model probably wouldn't fit on real body portions. So it might be all tweaked. That might be part of it as well. Maybe it looks slightly off.
The proportions for like the costumes, you mean?
Yeah, because if it's full CG previously, then they're gonna be human shaped, but might not be able to fit someone inside of them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess the thing I liked about the CG clones is like it was one size fits all. It was really just a matter of copy paste, and they're clones, right? Like they shouldn't look like stormtroopers, and that's something I really liked about the CG outfits. Also the fact that they were more mobile. It's kind of like an in-universe thing that the copy paste costume of the stormtroopers fitting on multiple size different people sort of like kind of played off accurately, because the Empire's hiring all these different people, right? Like to be in their military, and the uniform, it's like you're either too short to be a stormtrooper or you're not. And when I see some of the clones, especially in Andor, when I looked at the clone troopers in that shot, which I'm sending you guys a link in our chat here. You can take a look at some pictures down below in the thread. What I really disliked about the practical costumes is that it's just, you can tell that they don't all fit the same people because they're not all the same person, right? And that to me was a bit of an eyesore, I think. But otherwise, though, would you rather them just have one person do a whole bunch of takes? No, I'd rather them do it like how they approach Clone Wars, like what Kyle was saying. They did a lot of motion capture for the final season. Like I feel like that would have been a better approach. They should have had, well-trained military people, or at least actors who knew what they were doing, to provide the mocap for the clones, and then they should have used CG assets.
Yeah, I do agree. As long as they have like the dudes in the motion capture, it's gonna be a really good one. Like especially if you get actual trained soldiers doing it, you'll always get the best out of them.
Right. Now that you guys
are... That's just me also pumping up for my bros, though.
Yeah, that's fair. Nick, what do you think?
I don't know. I like the practical clones. It felt like it suited the scene more, like because you almost got the feeling that it wasn't like a Clone Wars scene where it's like, oh, Ahsoka and Anakin are just like jumping around and saving the day. It's like Ahsoka's actually in it. She's like in the battle, and it's like real. I don't know. The real people made it feel more real and less. I don't know, like fantasy. I guess if you want to call it that. It was the like I don't know all the sounds and senses, and I think it just it was better suited to that particular scene.
Gotcha. AJ, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I like I feel like the practical effects just add to the nitty gritty and like the real feeling of it, as opposed to just being clean and polished, because back in the time there, it's not a lot is like clean and polished, and it's like more of a darker time. So like having just that almost like not quite perfect kind of just played into that theme a little bit better than if they were more streamlined and looking really nice.
Yeah. I ran a poll on the Twitter, and there is a whole 5 people who agree with you guys. So it seems like it's a very split thing going on, but yeah. But yeah, let us know if you're listening, and what do you prefer, CG clones or practical clones? Let us know. Let me see here.
I do want to retract my statement about the de-aging of Hayden Christensen. I thought he looked great in this episode.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
you just
so much.
Dan, you're just saying that because of the fan backlash from last episode.
Was there fan backlash?
I'm sure there was.
Down with Dan. Down with Dan.
I take it back. No, I thought he looked good in this one. I was like,
maybe just episode in general was better, because I will say when they did the last episode, whatever quick thing at the beginning of the episode, he did look a little rough in that very final episode, just a little plasticky, I thought. But then the rest of the episode, like this episode, was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought this episode.
I just think it's funny that I was just gonna say, I think it's funny that everybody complained online when they didn't, age him down, and they just had Anakin fighting Obi back in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and everybody complained about it. And then they de-age him, like then they do the CGI on him, and everybody that I saw complained that they did that, and I'm like, how do you please all the Star Wars fans? I don't think there's an actual way to do it.
No,
you never will.
No.
Someone will always be upset.
What it does is it takes 10 years. It's like wine. You drink that first sip when you just make it, you're like, this is disgusting. But then 10 years down the road, you're like, I love this.
How old's The Force Awakens again?
Yeah. Oh, wait. Let's hold up here. Let's hold
Getting
on.
close. I think what you need something else to upset you more. So when the next thing comes out, you get mad at that, and suddenly the stuff previously doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And you know what they got to do? Another Christmas special, and everybody will love everything.
That'll level the playing field.
That would. We got to go back and check on, Chewie's wife, man. What happened to Chewie's wife?
That's right.
We got to check on Stinky. And
We need more Lumpy.
Lumpy.
Ooh. Yep.
So something to throw out there. A lot of these memory shots of hers felt very smoky, like very sort of ambiguous. You don't really know what's going on. It wasn't clear what the
you don't get the whole scene.
Yeah, you don't get the whole scene. Yeah. What are the general thoughts on that here?
It didn't bother me, honestly. I think it probably was so they didn't have to design a planet and make it look like Clone Wars. But as far as it just being the fog of war, or she's in this weird memory realm, I thought it was fine. I was willing to buy it.
I think it fits the memory thing pretty well. But I would agree, if it's not supposed to be a foggy memory of hers, then they probably should have toned it down a little bit.
I thought it was cool. I liked you saw Anakin transitioning between Vader and himself, like in the smoke.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, I like that a lot.
That was epic.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this being the Battle of Teth?
Is that what it is? Like from Clone Wars?
Well, I think it's supposed to be just like the purple nature of the dust. Like, kind of. He also, I think he says, this is one of our first battles together or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, he does.
I think he says this is the first battle together.
Yeah. I think that's right after they dropped off, Yoda came and dropped off Ahsoka to him. Then he was kind of like, come on, keep up or get left behind.
Yeah.
Gotta keep up.
So that's the first episode of the first season, then,
That's
isn't it?
the Clone Wars movie.
Yeah.
Oh, so the movie.
Yeah.
That's not the beginning in canon.
Nope.
Chronologically.
Chronologically, no, it's like the fourth thing on the list. But yeah, it's like their first battle together, like Ahsoka and Anakin, right? So, I almost kind of wish we saw more of it, honestly. Like it was really cloudy, but if that's supposed to be what it is, then that's cool. The Siege of Mandalore, we had Mandalorians popping up all over the place. Any visual preference to this? Obviously, seeing it live action is very cool. I had a minor gripe with one of the shots not looking so great, but it was for the most part like pretty awesome. Yeah. What about you?
No complaints for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say same. There was no complaints for me on that one. I really enjoyed watching that. I think they did pretty bang up job on that. And if you notice, it's also foggy there too, right? My take on it is that your memory's not going to remember everything. It's going to remember close to what's around you. That's kind of why I think it was the way it was. Because I mean, even the first battle, and when she was young, and it's all the dust is flying everywhere and everything, you really can't see past the big mechs that they had there. Like that was as far as her memory would go, as clear as it could be, is my thought.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I will say, if I did have a complaint, I wouldn't mind a little more visual distinction between the two battles, because it took me a second to realize we're even somewhere else.
There's only the Mandalorians that like showed you it was a different location, really.
Yeah.
Say again, Dan.
If you didn't see, like, it was mostly because of the Mandalorians that you realize, oh, this is a different battle, or now we're on Mandalore. Like, other than that, it looked like the same location.
I guess. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Especially because Ahsoka didn't look older. Like you said, it's still the same actress. She's still the same size. Like, so you didn't get that distinction.
Did anyone get the feeling like this was just like, you can always tell when it's filmed in the volume, but like this just really screamed volume to me for some reason. Like it just visually came off as stagecraft, that they just lit up a bunch of smoke machines and just felt very stagecrafty. Did anyone kind of get that feeling they were taken out of it a little bit?
I find that would be strange, because the main complaint of it maybe not having enough background. So like, yeah, the explanation of the memory. But if they're in the stagecraft, then it's weird that they wouldn't have more kind of rough backgrounds behind the fog.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's what makes me think it's very intentional. But yeah, I don't know. I just got this weird feeling. There was one shot specifically with a Mandalorian that just kind of popped off the screen for me. I was like, dang, that looks bad. Like, it was like the close-up. It was like a close-up shot of the Mandalorian, and I was like, oh man, there's like no smoke in front of him or anything. It just looked terrible. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. That was like a nitpicky shot for me, though.
One thing I really did like in this episode and the last episode was the transition of her going from reality to the world between worlds. Like, I thought it was really cool how they did the transition.
With the water?
With the water. Like in the first one, it was like the ocean, and then it went to a close-up of her head as she's floating in the water. And this one, it was like the water rising up as she was like...
Yeah, that was cool.
Being encased in the ocean.
Do you think that sort of has something to do with her kind of reawakening, perhaps?
Being sent back?
Like, do you think like that's actually happening, or do you think this is her kind of waking up and like feeling the water around her, and it's like happening in her dream as well?
Maybe.
I feel like it's because she says, "I choose to live."
Yeah.
Right. I choose to live, and that was her coming, sort of going from the depths of dying and being brought back. Yeah. So like almost being reborn.
Yeah.
Like a born again Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like a baptism almost.
Oh, maybe.
It kind of rubbed off that way to me at least.
I was thinking it might be as she's waking up, like she's her if you want to call it a dream and reality is starting to converge. It's like when you're in a dream and you really gotta pee, and then you wake up and you're peeing.
Yeah. That's honestly the best way that I could probably put it too. Yeah. The effect was pretty nice. I know Nick, you pointed out yesterday that the transition was really cool, really well done.
Yeah, I like the transition. That was another thing, like, to me, where I thought that maybe she was actually through a portal into the world between worlds, and then like the water coming back around her was just her going back through the portal into real life again. But maybe it was just a cool transition, and it was kind of just like a visualization of her waking up from that dream or something. But
yeah, it played off very nicely. I liked all the little sparkles and the stars kind of sort of converging on this pathway. It was very cool, very awesome. This episode ended off really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say my prediction was wrong. Anakin didn't lead her across the universe.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's 100% what I thought would happen too. Yeah.
What did you guys think about that Pinocchio shit? Like, I'm gonna get in this whale and it's gonna take me to a different galaxy.
Yeah,
the second I saw the whales, I'm like, they're gonna Jonah her.
Yeah,
that's what I got too. Yeah. Oh man. It made me wonder though, the first people that made the jump, if that's what they did, who like made the runes and everything, if they were space whale riders.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they're like, like from Dune, the sandworm riders, like if they had like structures they'd build onto the Purgle and then like just have them as traveling spaceships.
Oh, that'd be neat.
I was thinking it was like Futurama in that or what is it, this first episode, and they go to the moon and they're like, we're whalers on the moon.
We carry our harpoons, but there are no whales, so we tell tall tales and sing this whaling tune.
Yeah, that sort of crap.
Nice.
I can't believe you remember that, dude.
I wasn't that long ago. I was singing it with friends at a campfire, like maybe 4 months back.
Yeah, this was a cool ending. What I really loved about it was very much in line with Ezra. It was really reflective of what Anakin says to Ahsoka in that moment when he says one is never too old to learn. And it was just cool to see her look up at the stars and go like, oh yeah, like how come we didn't think of this before? Like how come we didn't think to follow Ezra by just doing what he did? This kid who just kind of, he's no Jedi Knight or anything like that, but like he found a way to get him and Thrawn out of Lothal in a certain way that no one decided to try and repeat, right? And here they are looking for this map, relying on technology and chasing down villains, and it's not going their way. And I just really let's just go back to the basics of it all and just come up with the Jedi solution. And like this was, the rebirth Ahsoka moment. She reaches out through the Force, she connects with the Purgle, and they find a way there, right? And I just thought like this was very, very. It's almost like her faith in the Force has sort of been restored a little bit. Like it's like because
I can see that.
Yeah, Hu Yang's just kind of like, whoa, what if they take us like in the middle of nowhere? And she's just like, well, I guess that's just the next step of the adventure, I guess, right? And then they just kind of go. And I was like, I really like that. I thought that was great. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about that whole scene is when Hu Yang looks over and goes, "Are you sure it's gonna work?" And she's like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Because immediately die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hu Yang's the best character. Like I love him.
Good old David Tennant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. All right, let's time to give some Pablo points or poodles.
One last thing before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about the psychometry. I'm wondering if it's starting to feel a little overused. Is it just me?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Dan.
I'm happy to see it. Like, I felt like it wasn't being used. You know, having played the games, like where you use it all the time. Like, I'm happy to see it.
So,
Though I think I was trying to find proof and I was not able to. So I had an understanding that it was supposed to be a really rare force ability, like Quinlan Voss and or just Cal Kestis. Were one of the very, very, very few people that could use it. So all of a sudden Ahsoka just using it out of nowhere always felt a little off to me, and now it's maybe feeling a little bit too much like a.
Did she never use it in the Clone Wars?
No, she never.
This is the first time we've ever seen it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I agree with both you guys, because like on the one hand I like seeing this ability being used, but at the same time it just to me didn't really fit the character because we'd never seen her use it before.
Was it a power that the daughter gave her when the daughter gave the life for?
Because we would have. Well, maybe I don't know.
Because there was never a good opportunity for her to use it.
That was season 3 of Clone Wars. So we saw her for season 4, and then season 5, and then season 7. So like, and then Rebels, right? So like, I feel like she would have probably used it at least at some point in that time. But yeah, I think it's supposed to be just a very rare ability to have, right? I don't think it's something that can be easily learned. Maybe with enough time and training it can be learned, but
because that was my understanding, but I was kind of poking on the Wikipedia and I couldn't find anything that specifically said that. It mostly just said that it was kind of frowned upon by the Jedi Order because it's easy to touch the dark side through objects by mistake.
Yeah.
Is Rebels during the same timeline as Fallen Jedi and Jedi Survivor?
It's a bit later.
Like, could she have come across Cal Kestis and like maybe he trained her in it at some point?
I mean, they were both alive at the same time, but Rebels takes place afterwards by 5 years, I think, after the second game. So, I don't know. There's always a possibility that they've crossed paths, but I don't know. I also find it unlikely that they would have, since there's still been no mention of Cal Kestis anywhere in other parts of the Star Wars canon, other than like the novel that he's been in. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is a chance though that she did learn it at some point, and this is us kind of like seeing her fruits of labor sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's cool to see. I just think, you know, maybe at some point I hope that we get an explanation for why all of a sudden she can do this. Pablo points or poodos. I'm gonna explain the rating system and then we can just dive right in and give ourselves a score. So this is a score of 7. 3 Pablo poodos is the worst of the worst, and then 2 Pablo poodos is just a little bit better. 1 Pablo poodo is, you know, bad but not terrible. Then we got a Bendu. Bendu's like a 50% score. Then we got Pablo points. We got 1 Pablo point, 2 Pablo points, and 3 Pablo points. All in the score, 3 being the best of the best of the best. So maybe we can start off with you, AJ. What would you give this episode?
I'd probably give it a 2 Pablo points. I don't think it's the best of the best, but I think it's pretty close.
Nice. All right. Kyle, what would you give this one?
I'm going 2.5. I loved it. So 2.5. It's not all the way there, because there were a couple of things like the whale, like the Pinocchio thing and everything. It kind of threw me off. Now I get why they're doing it, but it took away half a point from me.
Fair enough. All right, Nick, what would you give this one?
I'm going to go 2.1.
2.1. All right. Dan, what's up?
This is a 3 for me. The Purgles pushed it to a 3 because I love the Purgles.
Oh,
A 3?
Perfect score.
that's interesting. That is interesting.
I had a lot of emotions in this episode. I had goosebumps. I was cheering.
Yeah.
I loved it. This made me feel things like a good Star Wars show should.
That's amazing.
That's fair.
So is this going to convince you to watch Clone Wars?
I've always been wanting to watch Clone Wars. It's just the time commitment. Like once I start watching something, I'm all in, and like it's at some point I'll have time.
Just put it on while you're working.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Blake, what about you?
That's what I did for Rebels. I blasted through all 4 seasons of Rebels before Ahsoka came out, and
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
At least you got that down.
Yeah.
Listen, even if you can't pay close attention, you'll have a rough idea, right?
Yeah.
I would say I think I'm gonna go with 2.3. I was originally thinking 2.5, but I really dislike how underutilized they're using Hera in this, and it's annoying me a lot. And I feel like each episode gets a little worse.
Okay.
So 2.5 Pablo points. Oh, sorry, 2.3 Pablo points.
2.3. Awesome. All right. I would probably give this one. You know what? Like, I'll probably give it a 1.75. Depending on
What?
Depending
The Anakin
on
episode?
Yeah.
It's the practical effects.
It's the
Takes
clone
you out of
troopers really bothered me. You know, and I like, you know, I don't know how many times you guys have all seen Clone Wars, but I can assure you I've seen it more than 8 times, beginning to end. And you know, the prequels, like, I'm not even gonna start on how many times I've watched those. And for some reason, it was like,
I've watched Star Wars over 500 times.
that's right. And for some reason, it was just like looking at someone with a mole on their face that you just can't tell them about. You know what I mean? Like, it was just one of those things. To me, it just really got to me for some reason. And I just couldn't get on board with the live action clones. Just bothered me.
I could see this coming because we were watching it with that like on Tuesday, and afterwards he was ranting for like an hour about the clone troopers.
Oh no!
Yeah.
The live action clones bothered me a lot.
The poor guy who made those armor suits is going to be listening to this going, how dare they?
Yeah, one less follower. Watch your Twitter account, Josh.
But hey, I mean, it was a great episode. I love the choreography. I enjoyed the whole mysterious world between worlds thing. I like that there's so many different perspectives on how it can unfold and what does that mean for the character. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with 1.75, but assuming that they had switched to CG clones, I would have given it a solid 2. But yeah, there we go. Alas, here we are. So thank you all for coming on. Maybe Kyle, can you throw out your socials just so people can check out ALKY again and follow you on at the cons?
Again, it's ALKY Solutions, so ALKY Solutions.com. And you can get our website there, or you can find us on Etsy or Facebook, Instagram, all of those different systems there. And if anybody ever has any questions about lightsabers, you know what? Shoot me an email. You actually talk to me as the owner. And we give lifetime support. So if you ever have a question, even after buying your lightsaber and it's 5 years down the road, give me a call, man. I'll help you out.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. Anyone else get any socials? Dan, Nick, AJ, no? Any socials, Shane? No? Okay. All right.
I was gonna throw this one thing out here. No, we never talked once about what we think is going to happen next episode. I'm not sure if it's too late for that because it's going to be a whole new place, right? So
if you got a theory, throw it out. Throw it out there. Yeah.
We're going to see Throne, right?
Yeah, but like, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? Is it going to be a whole galaxy? Is it going to be like one planet? Is it going to be like a sort of heaven type situation where it's like, oh, this is like the one, like, kind of like the place you go and they're going to find Thrawn immediately, or is it going to kind of stretch out for the rest of the season?
Or did Thrawn pull like an emperor from what is it from the
Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, where all of a sudden he has like an entire force that he built up in this other galaxy.
He has over 10,000 Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm gonna take a wild guess. They just get there. You know, the Purgle opens his mouth. They're just there where they need to be. They see the Eye of Sion. Boom. done. Right? I think they've got a few episodes left. They got 3 more. I don't think there's any time to waste. So that's just my thought.
Oh, there's 3 more?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, just 3.
I thought there was 1 more. Okay, now I feel better. I'm like, okay. I was like, how are they gonna wrap this up in 1 episode?
It's gonna be one of those 2-hour-long episodes.
I think it's gonna be like Battlestar Galactica. They find Earth. Like, we're on Earth.
That'd be funny.
Oh no.
It's like
That's why Indiana Jones, there's a C-3PO and R2-D2 cave drawing.
Yeah. It's like the prehistoric age. Yeah. Nick, it sounds like you got some theory. Why don't you share your theory?
Oh no, I know. I just was pointing out the fact that no one's talked about it yet.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't really have any. I don't really have any theories.
Talk about this. Go.
Watch TV. They come to the Milky Way, and they tie our galaxy into their galaxy now. But watch there be like dinosaurs on the planet or something. They find Thrawn on Earth with dinosaurs or something. You never know, man. Who knows, right?
That just stinks to me, like that Star Trek movie where they go back in time to modern day Earth.
For the whales.
Yeah, that's right. They save the whales.
One of the best Star Trek movies ever, and you're sighing? Oh, it's so good.
That's so campy. Oh my gosh.
Because it's technically not a different. It's still the same universe because it's just a different galaxy than ours.
A long time ago in a galaxy far
away. Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, I have a ring that says that on it.
That's awesome. Anyone else got any theories? No more theories. All right, cool. Well, thank you all for coming on. Kyle, Dan, Nick, AJ, and our co-host Blake. Thank you all for coming on and chatting another week of Ahsoka. This is an awesome week to have everyone on. So this is great.
That was awesome. Thank you for having me again, man. And I'm glad I made it. This was fun. I love doing these with you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Pop on wherever. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. We'll catch you all. We'll catch you all on the next one.
See you out there. Keep flying.
All right, and to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in. And we have more Ahsoka after shows on the way, as long as our final Rebels Talk part. I mean, we put out 19 of these after shows for Rebels. So if you're a Rebels fan and you want to rewatch Star Wars Rebels, make sure you check out those after shows. There is 1 through 19 to check out, and part 20 is on the way. So that will summarize the remaining episodes of season 4. But until then, a lot of them are out there already, so you can go and start it up. We have only a few episodes of Ahsoka left, so make sure you catch the rest of those after shows as well for part 6, 7, and 8 over the next 3 weeks. It'd be great to have anyone send emails in about your theories as to what's going to happen next and what you think that whole sequence in the World Between Worlds is all about. Your thoughts on CG versus practical clone troopers and whether or not which of the others sucks. And we'd love to hear your Pablo points of poodo, so make sure you send that in as well while you're at it. Check out the Discord link in the description below. Make sure you hit up Kyle at the cons in the prairies in Canada, and we'll see you in the next episode of Star Wars Escape Pod. May the Force be with you.